Got Noble Credit has like 10 platinum cards, and he's not paying any of those fees. Yeah, I think it's like 7 personal and 3 business, if I remember correctly. So that's like $7,000 just from his platinum cards.
Is there a limit to the amount of cards that they will waive? Like, could your wife have 1 million cards and you have 1 million cards that you know of?
There is no limit that I'm aware of whatsoever. You can call up Capital One, upgrade that to a Venture X, and your fee will be waived because the account was opened before you were on active duty. Therefore, they can apply SCRA benefits to the account, even though you're newly a Venture X holder. Because it's an older account that was opened before, it can get that SCRA benefits and not have any annual fee applied to it. The only card that will still waive your annual fee after active duty is over is the PenFed Pathfinder. Even though I was off active duty for about 4 or 5 years straight after that, that fee, I've never paid that fee.
Wow. So some of you guys may not know, but there is a way to get annual fees waived on credit cards. I'm talking cards like the Amex Platinum card. I'm talking about the Amex Gold card, even the Green card. And for what a lot of people don't even realize is even Chase cards and some other cards you can get completely for free every single year with one special thing, and that is being in the military. Now, of course, this is not going to apply to everyone, but for those who are in the military, you definitely want to listen up because we have an expert today, somebody who has $3,500 in annual fees waived between his wife and him, and he's reaping a lot of benefits from all of these cards every single year just because he's in the military and he could take advantage of all these benefits. So I'm going to add him to the stage right now, Mr. John Baker. How are you, sir?
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. I've made some videos talking about military. I am not in the military, so I don't have that hard hitting, that real life experience like you do. So that's why I want to kind of get your experience from this today and how you're actually waiving $3,500 in annual fees every single year just by being in the military and all these benefits that most people don't even take advantage of. So I guess if you want to just start with how you learned about all of this.
Well, let's see. I'm John Baker. I have been in the U.S. Army Reserves for a while now. I'm currently a staff sergeant serving on a mobilization in Europe. How I got into credit cards was honestly, you hear rumors like, oh, someone's like, hey, you can get a American Express card with no annual fees, and eventually I ended up getting one, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't have to pay a fee. But I really got into it when one of my friends kind of pulled out a couple cards and showed me them, and he's like, I get all these benefits for this platinum card, and he had the Hilton Aspire card, and he's like, I got diamond status for the Aspire card because he told this story about going to Europe and having to pay like $200 for breakfast for him and his family, and he's like, I got diamond status with this card, and now I never have to pay for breakfast when I'm traveling with my family. And that was like the big thing for him. And I was like, that's really cool. I was like, in my head, I'm like, I have an Amex card though. I didn't really know the benefits. And that kind of got me kind of thinking about things and digging in and doing some research and led to where I am today.
Nice. Just for everybody watching, because I guess there's two sides to this. We have the MLA benefits, the Military Lending Act, and then we have the SCRA, which is Service Member
Civil Relief Act.
Civil Relief Act, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the best way I've been able to frame this and just reading and stuff was always MLA active duty, SCRA maybe not active duty. Is that correct?
It's not necessarily, but kind of, right? So MLA applies to accounts that have been opened while on active duty. So accounts opened while on active duty under Military Lending Act, they and the act doesn't guarantee fee waivers, right? So the banks that are doing these fee waivers, they choose to interpret these acts in a way that they are kind of giving that benefit to military members. So that's why some banks do it and some banks don't do it, or some banks might do it differently. But the MLA Act applies to accounts opened while on active duty. The SCRA benefits apply to accounts opened before being on active duty. And the SCRA benefits don't simply apply to credit cards. It applies to mortgages and other types of lending as well. And part of those benefits is like they do have like a cap on interest rates. And again, that applies to credit cards and mortgages and things like that. And it is specifically designed for service members who are, deploying as a reservist. They're not currently active duty, and then they get deployed. They still have their mortgage. They still have all these things that they have to deal with back home. And it's designed to give them kind of a little financial break so they don't have a bunch of, banks taking advantage of them when they're deployed. But it can work for active duty people if you've opened an account before starting active duty. There are some kind of ways to apply an SCRA benefit to that in that case.
I guess if we want to segment them kind of just by MLA for now, because I think that's the one maybe most people are taking advantage of, the ones that most people are familiar with. You could just get these Amex cards, these annual fees waived. But you were telling me that there's many other different like banks and whatnot that waive annual fees, right?
Yeah. So under MLA benefits, Amex waives all their annual fees for that, but only for personal cards, not business cards. They used to do business cards as well, but that they ended that recently. Chase waives the annual fee as well as Citi and US Bank. All of those cards will waive fees under MLA benefits.
So even the US Bank Altitude Reserve, that would
yes.
Waived? Wow.
That would be waived under MLA benefits, yes. Yeah, Citi and US Bank don't have a ton of annual fee cards to kind of play around with in that space, but Citi does have a couple of like airline cards and things like that. And then USA has that Altitude Reserve you just mentioned, but not as much as Chase and Amex.
Gotcha. So I guess if I'm somebody who just joined the military today and I have my Amex Platinum card and maybe I have the card already, am I able to waive my annual fees like tomorrow, or what would that process be like?
So you would your annual fees could be waived as of the date that you got on active duty. And so there's an MLA and SCRA eligibility website, and anyone can go in and make an account and check someone's socials if you have that social, which you have your own social, right? So you can go and plug your information in and see if it pops up as being eligible. And that's what the banks are going to look at. The banks have access. They can make a corporate thing. They have your social security card because you're getting those, credit cards through them. So they can use that information and check that database and see if you're eligible for those benefits. And if it shows that you are, and that also shows historical data as well. It's not just an immediate kind of right now. They can check as of what date, because you could say, hey, I started active duty on this date. I'd like to have my fees waived as of that date. And then that's kind of, as far as like how much and like how that works specifically can vary by bank and stuff, like, and how long you've had the account past the last annual fee, whether they'll prorate that or just waive the full year. I've seen banks do both as you have a start point like that.
So I guess the idea would be maybe contact Amex in some way or contact Chase. Yeah, I don't know if I read somewhere that it makes sense to get that eligibility thing like you just mentioned and just like have a screenshot out of or something as like maybe proof to send into them, or just
for Chase, I did get a screen. Like I downloaded that PDF that said I was eligible as of that date, and I did send that to them on a secure message when I was getting my fees waived through Chase. But Amex, you usually just message them because they do it more than other people. Most of my annual fees that are being waived are through Amex. But it's just a quick, secure message. Hey, can you get the SCRA benefits applied here? Can I get an MLA benefit applied here? And honestly, usually it's automatic with Amex. Like I got, if I'm active duty and like they're already giving me SCRA benefits with something, and then I go and apply for another card, I'll usually check after I apply for the card. Yeah, this is going to have MLA benefits, right? And they're like, yeah, it's already showing on your account that you have that status and that's being applied.
So for you, who's going like me on and off throughout the years, but do you have to update them every time you go back active, or you said it's automatic?
So with Amex, it's pretty automatic. It's with Chase and some of the other banks, you do need to contact them. Like when we talk about SCRA benefits, I'm going to mention Capital One, which that would be another example of a bank that you'd have to contact and to have that activated.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that at least for Amex, it's automatic. And I think in my mind, when I was thinking about it, and I don't know if that's anybody else who's watching who's in the military and think it's like a hard process. I actually thought it might have been a harder process, but if it really is just checking eligibility, calling up the banks, and maybe there's some amount of time where it takes for it to kick in. And like you said, if maybe your annual fee hit 6 months ago, is it going to be prorated or not? Or maybe it'll take longer to get the fees waived. But I guess once it's done, you're kind of good, for years, right?
Yeah, for a while. And that also kind of depends on the bank. My experience with Amex has been kind of weird with like falling off. Like I got the card I got first that I got about 5-6 years ago is I got a Delta Platinum card. That was before they made metal cards with them and stuff like that, and it was really old. I think the fee was probably $200 at the time, and I was just coming off of a mobilization. I'd done my 9 months overseas, and I was like in my last month, and I was like, hey, I keep hearing about these cool credit card benefits. I should probably do something. So I got that card. I called them up, and I called up Amex, and I was like, hey, I want to get a card. I like Delta. At the time, it made a lot of sense to have Delta benefits because that was an airline that the military was heavily using at the time. They had like a favorite airline contract, government rates contract going on at the time. So I was flying Delta a lot when I was, getting sent to trainings and everything. So again, you kind of fit. It made sense, and I remember talking to the guy. I was like, "Hey, I want to earn miles by everyday spending." So he's like, "Well, that's where you should get the platinum card, not the reserve card, because it has the dining and groceries categories." And I was like, "Okay, sure, sounds good." And honestly, we just used it over the next several years, and that fee, even though I was off active duty for about 4 or 5 years straight after that fee, I've never paid that fee.
Wow.
And like they have never told me, hey, we noticed that you're off. And like, maybe they're going to watch this video and be like, oh my gosh, we got to get that guy. I don't know. So that was my experience with that card. But last year I had an active duty time where I got the Amex Platinum card. I had another time where I was on active duty for about 30 days, and I was like, okay, this is my time. I'm going to get the MLA benefits, apply for a Platinum card. I got the Platinum card and 3 authorized users. And with that one, they sent me a letter about 4 or 5 months after saying, hey, we're going to turn your annual fee back on. And so I don't know what's the calculus behind that. It's like, oh, this is the big one, so we got to make sure we hit you with that one. But like the weird thing is the letter didn't mention my other card at all. It didn't mention my Delta Delta Platinum card at all. They're like, oh, we don't care if you waive that fee longer. But that Platinum card with 3 authorized users, that's just too much. We don't need you doing that.
That's so funny. And you were telling me off camera too that all those authorized users are also waived, right?
Yes, both MLA and SCRI benefits apply to authorized users. One small distinction that is important to note is when it comes to spouse benefits is that only MLA benefits can be applied to spouses. SCRA benefits cannot be applied to a spouse.
Good to know. Huh. Interesting. And you also said something about like you said you were on active duty for like 30 days. You had this little stint, so you were like, okay, now I'm on and I can apply for these cards under MLA, make the process a little bit easier. Do you recommend people wait until they are active duty to apply for all these cards, or you think apply for when you want, when you become active, it's still not hard to get them waived, or what do you think?
So generally speaking, I would say get the card that makes sense for you at the time that makes sense for you. For me and my experience with Amex with that first card, I got that under MLA benefits. So in my mind, I'm like, hey, they waived that fee for like 5 years. I'm gonna gamble on that again and get it on MLA benefits. The timing. As I mentioned earlier, the time after varies greatly by banks. From what I hear, Amex will usually waive the fees for a year or two before they'll start nixing people. Is kind of what I've seen on blogs and forums and stuff like that. Chase will definitely start hitting you back up for that fee after a couple months of coming off active duty, because, like I said, they have access to that database and they're watching it. As far as other banks. Capital One is actually a very interesting one, but I'll hit on that when we get more heavily into the SCRA benefits portion. When I applied for the Platinum card last summer, when I had that 30-day training, I didn't have to send Amex anything. When I was applying, I think I applied just off of someone's referral link, and then I called them up and was like, hey, just wanted to make sure that my MLA benefits are being applied. And they were like, yeah, sure, you're good. Yeah, it's good. I
guess in the case that, like you said, so under MLA, your spouse would be covered. Like if your wife has an Amex Platinum card that you want to be waived, is it the same process, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a very similar process. At least for me, she's been like the authorized user on all of my cards. So I guess because of that, we were already kind of linked. I don't really know exactly, but like it was super easy for Amex with my wife. So I actually got my wife just this year a Delta Reserve card. Because she was an authorized user on my Platinum card, but she traveled once without me, and I was kind of bummed that she didn't get any of those benefits, like no early boarding, no waived baggage fees or anything like that. So I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm just getting you your own card, so you get those benefits too. I don't want you, being, just left out to dry without that, just because I'm not flying with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess on that, a similar topic that you're making me think of is there a limit to the amount of cards that they will waive? Like, could your wife have 1 million cards and you have 1 million cards that you know of?
There is no limit that I'm aware of whatsoever. Like I said, the banks aren't doing this out of necessarily a requirement, so they do kind of have. I would guess they have the ability to limit it if they chose to, but I have not seen. I have not seen any instances or data points that would show that there is like that Amex will limit you. Like I was saying, I don't know if we want to. I think Noble Credit has like 10 Platinum cards, and he's not paying any of those fees. I think it's like 7 personal and 3 business, if I remember correctly. And he's still getting the waive fees on the business cards, I think, because he was like grandfathered in because he got them before they canceled the business card fee waivers. And so that's like $7,000 just from his Platinum cards.
And that is a lot of money, but you told me off camera that you have $3,500 in annual fees waived between you, authorized users, your wife. So before we get into that and just your experience with all of your free Platinums, what have you, I guess we should dig in a little bit with the SCRA benefits itself. So you were mentioning something about I guess Capital One, something interesting with them.
Yeah, so Capital One is interesting because and this is where it's kind of like it's really weird. So they don't waive fees based on MLA benefits. They do waive fees from SCRA benefits. Really? So what that ends up meaning is you have to have opened the account while not on active duty for Capital One to waive their fees. But if you do, they have it's like in word, like in their writing policy about how they do the SCRA benefits, they will waive the fee for the time you're on active duty plus 18 months. They will also reduce your interest rate to 4% on all of their credit cards when you go from not active duty to active duty status.
Wow.
So it's like, I feel like the Venture X card should be like the best card for an Army reservist or Navy reservist or something like that, because Air National Guard, those kind of people, because you just get it before you go on active duty. And my experience was this: I got it 2 weeks before I went on active duty. I had my orders. I knew I was going. I wasn't surprised by becoming active duty at that time. But it was 2 weeks after. They did post the fee within that first week of getting the card. And I paid it off. Moving forward, I got on active duty status. I started checking the SCRA benefits eligibility page. A lot of times it might take a couple days before it kicks in. Once it was showing on there, I called up, and Capital One's actually really cool with military. They actually have a dedicated customer service line just for military bank members.
Wow.
So I called up that, so they knew everything about what I was talking about and kind of what the situation was. And I was like, hey, I'm eligible for SCRA benefits. I'd like to have it applied to this card. And they were really helpful, really great to work with. They waived the fee, and that money was back on the card as a credit within 2 days of me having that phone call conversation with them.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And I guess, is it the same for all the cards? I didn't ask, but I guess when all the fees are waived, does it all just come back in the form of a statement credit?
No, usually you just don't. They won't post the fee at all. Is generally what would happen most of the time. So, like if I'm on a 9-month deployment, they will waive it for that 9 months plus 18 months. So they waive it for a year and a half after you're on active duty. And imagine if you have like a month-long training as a National Guard or reservist or something like that. You go for 1 month, you call up Capital One while you're there, and you're like, hey, I need that applied. They get the information, they put it through their whatever their review process is, and they waive it for that month plus 18 months. Yeah, it's great. Now, and one thing that's interesting that, again, I think a lot of people don't think they can do, but the thing is, the account has to be open before your active duty. I see guys out here all the time, and they have maybe they have a Quicksilver card, maybe they have a Saver One card or something like that. They got a nice annual fee, zero annual fee credit card that made sense for them from Capital One. I tell them, you can call up Capital One, upgrade that to a Venture X, and your fee will be waived because the account was opened before you were on active duty. Therefore, they can apply SCRA benefits to the account, even though you're newly a Venture X holder. Because it's an older account that was opened before, it can get that SCRA benefits and not have any annual fee applied to it.
Wow, that's very cool. That is very, very cool. I bet there's a lot of people watching right now who heard that is like, wait a second, I could upgrade my card, and get that waived then, if that's the case. That's very cool. We talked about MLA benefits and getting all these fees waived. So maybe I have 5 platinum cards all for free. And then I go maybe inactive. When is the time in which like these SCRA benefits kick in, and how does that kind of differ for somebody who went active and maybe even someone who left the military or something like that? Like, how do these benefits kind of change over time?
So as you leave the military, it's just like kind of the MLA benefits. Whenever your last active duty time, there might be, like with Capital One, they have that 18-month extended time or something like that. Those go away when you're no longer on active duty. The only card that will still waive your annual fee after after active duty is over is the PenFed Pathfinder.
Really?
The PenFed Pathfinder card, they have that thing where if you're a, what do they call it? Honors Advantage member or something like that. If you're a PenFed Honors Advantage member, you don't have an annual fee on their Pathfinder card. And one of the ways you can be an Honors Advantage member is by being either current or former service in the military.
So like when you go to inactive duty and you now go under SCRA, are fees still waived?
No. So like, for example, if I go off active duty for like a year, then all those fees will kick back in.
Okay.
The SCRA benefits will kick in again on accounts and I get on active duty again. So like, for example, let's talk about my Platinum card. So I got the Platinum card last year during 30-day orders under MLA benefits. After I got off those active duty orders, about 6 months later, I got a letter from Amex saying, "Hey, we're going to start charging you. Have you pay your fee on your Platinum card." So then, about 3 months after I got that letter, I went on active duty orders again. So then I called up Amex and I was like, "Hey, now I'm on active duty orders again. I would like to apply SCRA benefits to my account." So then they applied SCRA benefits to my account as of those new active duty orders.
So now that that's all the benefits and how to do it and how people have done it over time, how have you been able to waive? Like what's your personal like what's in your wallet for 3,500 annual fees waived every single year essentially?
Well, what's in my wallet? Okay, yeah. I said I started off with the Delta Platinum card. That was my first kind of credit card journey card. And honestly, it's a card that if I look at it now, it doesn't really make as much sense as I thought it did. Because, and this is the weird thing about airline cards specifically with military, is military benefits are usually better than most airline credit card basic benefits. Like, for example, like the Amex Gold card, I could not get someone in the military to get to apply. Like I would never recommend someone get that card because as a service member, even if you're not flying on orders, if you're flying on orders, they will authorize you like 5 checked bags with no overweight fees just by traveling on active duty orders. Even if you're not on active duty orders, every single U.S. airline that I've ever seen will waive bags fee for military service members.
Really? And
that's between like 2 or 3 bags, not just like 1 bag. Another military benefit that's not credit card related, and it again goes back to why I think the Delta Platinum was not really a good choice for me, is anyone that has a military ID card gets complimentary TSA PreCheck.
Oh, wow.
And if you've ever flown, you know that they also what they're going to do at the beginning of boarding. They're going to call and ask every active duty service member to come on up and board first. So early boarding, checked bags, TSA PreCheck, those are like the main benefits of the Delta Platinum card.
Yeah.
And I get all of that for being military, for not being right. Not needing the card. So I'm just like, looking back, I'm just like, well, I don't know if that made the most sense, but I didn't know what I was doing. And that was just where I started,
That's funny.
But I got that. And then over the last couple of years, I've the next card that I got that had an annual fee, IHG Premier card. Now that one makes a ton of sense for military service members, because if you don't know, the U.S. government loves IHG. That is their favorite hotel chain. They get the best rates with them, and so they put you up in them all the time. So having the card, when you go to check in, you get that automatic platinum status. You're not just getting the 10 points per dollar that the government's spending on your stay. You're getting you're getting 16. You get that 60% boost with the platinum status from IHG from the card. And you're getting 16 points per dollar on money that you're not putting into it.
Wow.
So that one's a really easy sell. I think it makes a lot of sense for people in the military for that reason, because if you're ever going TDY, temporary duty somewhere, they actually have IHG, like Army IHG hotels on bases all over the country. And those ones are a little different. They only give like 5 points per dollar spent, and stuff like that. They're a little bit, yeah. But so that's a card that I got, and like that free night, I got it for when they had an elevated bonus a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Got like 175,000 points. It was pretty great. And then, like I said, I did pay that fee for that first year, and then I had the second year was waived because I was active duty at the time when the fee was going to be charged to my account. So that's when I kind of was like planning out my roadmap for my credit cards as I was getting ready for an upcoming mobilization. And then, so what I did is I got the Venture X card 2 weeks before I mobilized. So I made sure I was not eligible for SCRA benefits when I applied. And then I got it, and then I called them back a couple of weeks later when I was on the list to have that waived. I really like, again, the Venture X card. I think is really great for soldiers who go and mobilize overseas, because like I'm deployed over in Europe right now, and the merchants that accept Amex are few and far between, at least where I am. So I ended up pulling out that Venture X card more often than any other card. Even if I'd rather be spending on the card that I'm working on a sign-up bonus for or something like that, I'm still pulling out that Venture X because it's my Visa card. It's got no foreign transaction fees, and I get that 2 points, that 2 miles per dollar on just anything. Well, so like part of the reason I got the platinum card when I did is because at the time I was actually flying with the Army once a month to do my monthly training. I had been assigned to a unit that was in a different state. The way that works is you pay for your travel and then they reimburse you up to like $500. So I did a lot of Delta flights, charging them to my Amex Platinum card. Both of the airports that I was going to and coming from had Delta Sky Clubs. So I was going, and I was going before my flight and after my flight each time. So I was doing like 4 visits a month.
Hell yeah.
And just getting that free food. Sometimes I was able to convince them to bring some Army buddies in with me or not. If I was lucky, that would kind of depend on the lounge and depend on how busy they were at the time. If they weren't too busy, they'd let them come in with me. If they were too busy, then they'd turn them away and only let me in. Another thing that's really good is the insurances that are built in. I've had to change travel plans at times if I had a little bit of leave coming up, and then the Army's very unpredictable at times. And they might change what's happening, and I have to change my schedule. So I've had to use like the AIG insurance through Amex that I charge a flight to my card that I had to go back and cancel later. So I've had to work with them to get those reimbursed and things like that. So that's also been something that's been a big benefit to me personally, as a service member that has that kind of unpredictable schedule. One thing that I did do, and I think this is worth noting as far as like the Delta cards, is I did use the credit on that Delta Platinum card to get my wife TSA Precheck. And that's been nice to get both of us through airport security in the same Precheck line instead of her having to do the regular. When we go through different lines, I get some looks. When I go through the short line, she's got to do the long line. Sometimes it's just better to bite the bullet and go in the long line.
Yeah. It's funny. She's way off, and you can't even see her. She's over the horizon. That's funny. Any parting words for, I guess, maybe military members or anybody who would take advantage of these benefits, or even just the world? Anything?
Well, I guess I would just say, especially for reservists, I wouldn't recommend just getting a card because the fee is waived. I think that make sure the card makes sense for you. And honestly, I know the platinum card is like the big one that people love to say, get this card, you're going to get all kinds of crazy benefits. That card is a crazy card. It is hard to really squeeze that value out of that card. If you were like me, when I got the Delta Platinum card, I probably would have been getting zero benefits out of the Platinum card. I didn't really know how to maximize those benefits. And so it does take a lot of work to get. I would actually recommend for most people, if you just want to get a card to get benefits to let you spend when you're doing your tour in Germany or something like that. I think the Sapphire Reserve makes a lot more sense. The credit is easily accessible. You don't have to worry about that being part of reimbursing the fee because you're not paying the fee. So, and it being a Visa Infinite card, it'll work anywhere you go. And so I think that's really good. I love recommending the Venture X to reservists. And the Chase Sapphire Reserve also has that benefit of being able to downgrade to a no annual fee card as an option. The Amex Platinum doesn't have that as an option. So I think that's something that it's like the easy one. And if you're active duty, you can get both, and you can get value from both of them. I think with seeing people that are overseas, and which happens a lot in the military, I think the Chase Sapphire Reserve makes a lot more sense for more people than the Platinum card, because you're going to be like, oh, you get denied all the time. Especially with, like, for me, we're working on my wife's Delta Reserve sign-up bonus right now, so I'm trying to use it as much as I can. And so many times I'm here in Europe, they're like, sorry, it didn't work. Give me your other card. I guess that would be my closing thoughts.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, John, for obviously, thank you for your service for our country, but more importantly, your service to this YouTube channel, so we could teach a lot of people about all of these benefits. I'm just kidding. But we really appreciate you, John, and all your wisdom and everything you shared with us today, because I really do think it's going to help a lot of people out. And at least it's helped me get a better understanding of how this all works as someone who's not been in the military. And hopefully I can, share that message and your message more and more often with more people. And this way, people have, better and better experiences with their cards for sure. So thank you again, man, just for doing this today. And also, before I forget, everybody who wants to sign up for basically any card that we talked about today, Chase cards, American Express cards, we're going to leave John Baker's link down in the pinned comment and in the description below. So if you want to go support him, you can do so down there below. And also as a thank you for, giving us this info and your time today. Thank you, John. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you, John, again so much for being here. I appreciate you.